everybody, it's Vic here, and today's video is going to be, as you can probably tell, a review of some of the grading companies out there. We have the two main grading companies, well, three really. There's PSA, Beckett and CGC. We also have a French company, which is PCA. And then we have several of the UK grading companies that have come up within the last year or so. I think all of them are under a year old, perhaps with the exception of Get Graded. That might be over a year, but we have Get Graded, Good Brothers, PokeGrade, Tree Frog Grading, Only Grading and Ace Grading. And we're going to have a look at these all side by side today, just to see what the different processes is, the advantages, disadvantages. We're going to have a close look at the labels, the actual cases themselves, so that you can see each card next to each other and decide maybe which one you like the best or which company you want to go to get your cards graded. Now, Ike and I have used some of these companies ourselves. We have sent submissions to Good Brothers, to Get Graded. We have also sent submissions to Tree Frog Grading. All of those three we've had back. We know the whole process, so we can properly review those. Ace Grading, I have sent a submission to Ace Grading, although it hasn't been returned yet. All of the others, we haven't actually submitted ourselves. We've bought these cards from other collectors off eBay or off Facebook. Now, some of the cards we've bought because we wanted for our own collection. Some of them I've bought purposely to make this video, and I will probably resell afterwards. So the thing I notice immediately is there's 5 cards here that pretty much have the same case. PSA case, and PSA are widely regarded as the best grading company. They've definitely been on the go a long time. They're probably the most widely known, and they are generally regarded to be the best, or at least one of the best, along with Beckett. Their case is a pretty simple design. It has frosted sort of plastic around the edge of the card, and all their cases stacked together. Now, Good Brothers, Get Graded, PokeGrade and Tree Frog Grading all have the exact same case. It's the exact same case. They stack together. They're exactly the same. They're the same size, everything. The only difference is the label, and probably the grading process as well. So if you just put those ones back, and we can see side by side, if you like the PSA cases and you couldn't get them graded with PSA as they are closed, Good Brothers, Get Graded, Tree Frog Grading and PokeGrade all have exactly the same cases, even down to the frosted plastic. There is one difference between these. PSA, as you can see, do not have the card in a sleeve. It's just the card inside the case. PokeGrade, as far as I can see, are exactly the same. There's no sleeve inside of there. And also, Tree Frog Grading don't appear to have their cards inside a sleeve inside the case. However, Get Graded and Good Brothers both do. Both of those cards are inside sleeves inside the cases. Some people like that, some people don't. Personally, I prefer them to be not in a sleeve, but I mean, at a quick glance you can't really tell. They don't show an awful lot, but I would prefer to have them not in the sleeve. But again, it's down to personal preference, and it doesn't really show that much when they're on display. Now, the other 5 companies that we have here all have, I guess, their own design case. They're very different to these standard ones. The one that sticks out the most to me, which I was very surprised when I bought this from eBay. I bought this because I wanted to include a PCA card in this grading video review. I'd never actually seen one before. I didn't even know that much about them, to be honest. And I was surprised when it arrived how small it was and how light it is. It's so light. The back of the card, the label, is quite a simple design. There's not much on there. The slab itself, it's so thin, it's much smaller. I mean, if you compare the thickness of these two here, it's about a third. The difference in weight is unbelievable as well. But if you like smaller cases, if you've got a lot of cards and you don't want to take up as much space, I mean, these are the ones to go for. Their cards are not in sleeves either. The card seems to be an extremely snug fit inside of that case. So there, PCA, the smallest by far of them all. Now on the other end of the scale, the largest and heaviest, I think, is probably going to be the only graded, or the Beckett. The only graded Beckett is bigger in terms of it's wider, but it's not longer, and it's certainly not heavier. This only graded slab is the heaviest of all by far. Now I haven't actually used these to this company to submit to. I bought this card off eBay, already graded. When it arrived, I just put it away in a box because it wasn't for my collection. It was I just bought it to use for this video, and I didn't really pay that much attention to it. It was still in a bubble wrap, and I didn't even really look at it closely. When I pulled it out about a month later, I noticed on the front and back, I'll cut to some pictures that I took, there was what looked like moisture marks on the back and on the front. Now I don't think they were moisture. I think it was where the sleeve that the card's in was sort of pressed against the plastic, and it made it look like a watermark. Now I tried to get a refund through the eBay seller, but because it was over a month old, they basically ignored me. So I actually sent an email to Only Graded, explained the situation to them and asked if there was anything they could do to help. And I've got to say their customer service was fantastic. But considering I never graded the card with them, they don't know what happened to it, I guess, in the interim time. They said, send it to us, we'll look it over, we'll re-slab it and we'll send it back. And they did, and they've done it all for free. So I couldn't, and they've done it quickly as well. I think I had it back within less than 10 days, I think it was. All re-slabbed, the label, everything was still the same, but it was re-slabbed, and you know, it's 100 times better. So I was actually really impressed with their customer service. So if that's anything to go by, I don't know what it's like when you're actually grading cards with them, but my experience of them, it was a very good service. And they didn't have to do that really, but you know, they did. So that was quite good. I'll move on to ace grading. Now this is a card I bought off eBay, and again I bought it for the purpose of making this video. I have actually sent off submission to ace grading, but it hasn't returned back yet. Now the submission process, I think, is really good for ace grading. They have a fairly slick website. You can put all your card details in. Well, you just have to really start typing the card name and options pop up, and you can choose which card it is. The only thing I don't like is they close the submission services when they are at capacity. Now that's good, I guess, in a way, because they're not taking your submissions and you're not having to wait for them. But the annoying thing is, you have to just keep going back on there every day or several times a day to check if the service you want has reopened. And I've basically been doing that since the day they launched their service, which was a good few months ago now. And every day I have to go back on and check, is it available? It just gets really, really annoying. What I would prefer to be able to do is to submit my cards anyway, get them in the system, and just be on a waiting list and have a message say, you've submitted your cards, but you won't get them back for 2 months, you won't get them back for 3 months, the waiting list is 5 months, whatever the waiting list may be. That's what I would prefer. Then I'm in the line, I'm waiting, I know my cards are there. Whereas currently I'm sitting, I've got my stack of cards waiting to go, I'm checking 2 or 3 times a day. I keep missing the window because they seem to open up just a really small amount of spots at a time, and it's just a bit annoying. But other than that, I do like the way they operate. I love the fact that they've got different label options. I can't wait to get my submission back. I'm going to do a review video on ace grading when my submission comes back, because I've chosen some with the regular label, which is this one. I've chosen some with the colour match, which they match the colour. It's the same design, but they match the colours. And then I've chosen some with the ace label, which they basically take an element of the card and have that design on the label. So I'm really interested to see those coming back. And again, I will do another video on that whole process when they arrive back. Now the next one I'm going to talk about is Beckett. It's a well-known label. It's pretty much well up there, well respected. A lot of collectors like using Beckett. But like PSA, they are closed at the minute for submissions, and even if they're not technically closed. Both Beckett and PSA are open for submissions, but it costs, hundreds of pounds for each card. So it's only really for extremely high-end cards. Middle tier and bottom tier services are not available. And even if they were available, you're talking months, years, really, wait time. So I can't send a submission off to Beckett's at the moment either. So I bought this one from eBay, ready graded, just for the purpose of this video. The corner's got a 10, surface a 10, edges a 10, and the centering 9. So they got a 9.5. If that had gone off to PSA and it got those subgrades, I know PSA don't do subgrades, but that would have been a 10. So it just shows a difference between Beckett and PSA. So the next card I'm going to talk about is CGC. Now CGC are again a well-known company. They are well respected. They've been on the go quite a while. They grade comics and such, but they also now do cards. Got a bit of dust on this, so I'm just trying to get that off. I have not used them myself. Again, I bought this from eBay. Now, what I do like about these cases is they are crystal clear. I mean, this one you can't really tell because it's got a lot of dust on. I've just had this lying on the shelf, to be honest. But the cases are absolutely crystal clear. If you look at some of the others, I mean, I know that's frosted, so it's not going to be crystal clear. But let's take a look at one that's not. So let's take a look at this Ace grading card. I mean, it is pretty clear, the Ace grading card, the case, sorry. It is quite clear, but it's just not the same as this CGC one. This CGC one, I don't know if it's picking it up on camera. I mean, that's probably a bad one to show as an example against, because actually the Ace grading card is pretty clear as well, the plastic. Not quite as much as the CGC. But I mean, if you look at the PCA one, I don't know if it's showing on camera, to be honest. It's dark outside here. I don't have a lot of lighting going on at the minute, but I mean, take my word for it. The crystal clear cases on those CGC ones look absolutely amazing on display. Absolutely fabulous. Now, before we go on to talk about labels, I just want to quickly mention a couple of things about the companies that we've used. Good Brothers, Get Graded, Tree Frog Grading. Those are the three that we have personally used to submit cards, so I can give you accurate descriptions of what their customer service is like. Good Brothers, Tree Frog Grading, I actually can't fault them whatsoever. Swift, excellent customer service, excellent communication. I cannot fault either of those companies for their service. We got them both back within a few weeks. I think that both of them had services which were 2 to 4 weeks. Both of them were returned within those timescales. The price was great on both of them. I think from memory, Good Brothers was around £10 per card. Tree Frog Grading, I think, was $14 per card with a 10% discount. So similar in price, similar in service. The communication from both companies was fantastic. I didn't have to chase them up. Any questions I did ask them, they replied straight away. They seem very professional and on the ball. Now, Get Graded, as a lot of you might know, their turnaround times don't seem to stick. We've actually sent 4 different submissions to Get Graded at 4 different times over the last year. Every single time they've been over the time specified. I think it says 6 to 8 weeks. They've never come back within that time. I know Get Graded have changed hands. They have different owners currently. I haven't had a submission back since those new owners have taken over, although I do have 2 submissions with them currently, which are just about getting to the time when they're due back. I don't know exactly, but we're about on the 8-week limit. So it is going to be interesting to see if they're going to stick to that 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, or they're still going to be going over. I don't know. It's really hard to get in touch with Get Graded. They obviously have thousands of submissions coming in. They're not spending time answering queries or emails. They say they're spending time just trying to catch up on the backlog and get cards out, which is good. That's all well and good. But it would be nice if you could get a quicker response to queries or questions. But I guess that's not going to happen until they, get caught up. But it is a factor when considering sending cards to them. I'm also not a fan, to be honest. They changed their grading system some time ago. This was one of the very first cards we got graded with them, and you can see it got a 9.5, 9.5, 9.5 and a 10. So it's averaged up to a 10, this card, which is great because I want to get a 10. You know, it's one of my favorite cards, and I like the fact that I've got a 10. This is my own card that I keep. I have it on display. So yeah, it's nice to see a 10 there. If that card had have been sent in currently, where they've changed their grading system slightly, it would come out as a 9.5, because they never used to do half grades for the main grade, so they would round it up to a 10. Now that would say 9.5, which wouldn't look as good to me. I wouldn't like it. I suppose it's more accurate because it is accurately a 9.5, but from a collector's point of view, I like to see that 10. I guess it is better technically having an accurate grade of 9.5, but I just like that. We have sent quite a few cards off in my last batch that come back, which had similar grades to this, but have 9.5 as a main grade. And I don't know, I just don't like it. I just think, oh, if I'd sent them off originally, they'd have been a 10, but I suppose at least now they're more accurate. I mean, I would never sell this card because it's my card, and I wanted it graded, and I got it graded. I got the grade I wanted. But if I was to sell this card, I'm sure any potential buyer would look at that and might say, actually, that's not a 10. I'm not going to give you, you know, the price because it's not a 10. That's potentially what they would say. Now, you could have the same with the PSA one. It could have, you know, the graders could have given it those 9.5, 9.5, 9.5 and a 10, and it's got a 10. But because the subgrades aren't listed, you don't know that. You just accept it is a 10, and then you would get the PSA 10 price. So I don't know. Everyone's going to have different feelings on that, but that's the way they grade now. You can get half grade, you can get 8.5, 9.5, but you can't get half grades for anything lower than that. It's just full grades, I think. Okay, and as you'll notice, a lot of the others do half grades. I think there's only Good Brothers do full grade, don't do half grades. Neither do PokeGrade or Tree Frog grading. Neither do Ace grading and PSA, and also Only Graded don't do half grades, and Ace grading don't do half grades. So if you want half grade, you're looking at PCA, you're looking at Beckett, you're looking at CGC, or you're looking at Get Graded. All the rest, as far as I'm aware, don't do half grades. Although, as you can see, Tree Frog grading do half grades on their subgrades. This one's annoying. Because it's only half a grade, half a point off getting what's called an Alpha 10 that they do, which is basically the same as, you know, Get Graded would have it flawless, I think they call it. And it gives you, you know, it just means that everything is completely pristine. Okay, so now let's talk about labels. It's really down to personal preference with the labels, to be honest. I can't really judge Ace grading because I really want to see their colour match labels and I want to see their Ace labels. Based on this one alone, for me it's a little plain. Some people like things plain. I don't dislike the label. I think I'm going to like their Ace labels a lot better. I'm undecided about the colour match. I'd like to see them in the flesh. Some of them seem to match up really well and some not as well. What I would like to see on their website is to be able to see an example of what your particular card will look like on colour match before you actually decide whether you want that colour match label, because you do have to pay extra for them. So that would be something I would like to see on their website. I think the Beckett's labels are really nice. They're very simple. I like the fact that they've got their logo, you know, just really understated there inside the case. I don't know, I quite like that. Again, it's down to personal preference. Some people wouldn't. I'm not a massive fan of the PCA label, if I'm being honest. I don't really like that at all, but again, that's just personal opinion. I actually am a big fan of the Get Graded labels. Some people don't like them. I personally do. I think as well with certain cards they look really, really cool, those black labels. They've got the hollow pattern on the back. There's a lot I'm not keen on about Get Graded, like I've already mentioned, but the labels are not one of them. I actually love the labels. I really like them. They're actually one of my, in fact, they could even be my favourite of the labels out of all of these. I'm not a particular fan of the PSA labels. I definitely am not a fan of the PokeGrade labels. I actually quite like the tree frog grading labels. I know a lot of people don't. They're like, why have they got a frog on there? I mean, it is the logo of their company, so that's why. I like the hollow. I like the simpleness of it. I actually really like the back as well. So they are also one of my favourites. Now, whilst I actually do quite like the weight of these only graded slabs, I like the customer service I got from the company. I absolutely cannot stand the labels. I've got to be honest, I really don't like them. I think their logo is, you know, not great. I don't like the font they've used. There isn't much I do like about the labels, if I'm being honest. But again, it's personal preference. Somebody else might really like them. Okay? So that's talked about the labels a little bit. The only other thing to talk about is the quality of the cases. Now, I have seen other people twist them, see if they pop open. I really don't want to do that, to be honest, because a lot of these cards are Ike's cards. I don't think you'd be happy if I started popping these cards out of the cases. Some of them are mine as well, and I wouldn't be too happy. And then other ones that don't belong to either of us that I've just bought for the purpose of this video, I would actually like to get my money back, or as close to, if possible. So again, I don't really want to start popping those out. None of them initially seem to be unsecure. I've had a good look round, and I've gently, you know, not too hard, I've gently sort of prized at them, pulled at them a little. None seem to be unsecure, to be honest. So I don't think there'd be any problem. I think if you had to force these to get them open, I think they would be probably damaged to a point where you couldn't put them back in. So I don't think there's an issue with security of any of these slabs. None of the ones I've got here in front of me today anyway. I'm pulling them, you can't probably tell, but I am putting quite a bit of force on there. And none of them are shifted. Oh, having said that, that one actually does feel like, oh my goodness, yes, look. Oh look, that one's just popped right open. Now, I really hardly put any pressure on that whatsoever. I don't know if you can see, it's popped right open. I could probably get that card out of there really easily and slide a new one in really easily. So that's actually a little worrying. I bought this one off, and as I've done that, you see the label has gone a bit wonky in the case because I've sort of opened it, that's slipped. Now, I didn't get this one graded myself. I did buy it from eBay. I didn't notice that there was any problem with it, but it hasn't been in my possession the whole time, so I can't say what somebody's tried to do with it. I mean, it's not a particularly valuable card. I don't have any reason to believe that's been swapped out, but you can see how that easily. I'm not particularly strong. I'm not putting much pressure on that whatsoever. The label slipped. The card could easily be slid out of there, so that isn't great actually. PokeGrade, not great. That there was a little bit of a cracking noise there when I put very little pressure on that, but I'm not sure what the cracking noise was because I can't see any damage to the case, and it's definitely not moving, so I think that one's okay. So, that was a bit of a shock there about PokeGrade, because I did give them all a little check before I started making the video, and they all seem secure, but obviously that one not so much. And that was no tools, just my hands. I'm not particularly strong. I wasn't doing it particularly hard. So obviously, based on that, I would never recommend PokeGrade, because if that was a valuable card, I could slide that out of there, put a lesser quality card in, sell it as a 9, you know, and it might not be a 9. So not really sure what's going on with that company, but I definitely wouldn't use them. So with regards to labels, for me, I do like the Beckett's label, I love the Get Graded label, and I quite like the Tree Frog grading. I am hopeful to see what the Ace grading labels look like with the Ace label. I think I'm going to really like them, but you will see that in another video. With regards to the rest of the labels, I could really take them or leave them. I'm not a big fan of the blue, even though the case itself, I actually like this case the best out of all of them because it's crystal clear. I don't know, it just feels nice, it looks nice. Case wise, I like the CGC. Label wise, it would be Tree Frog, Get Graded or Beckett's for me. I would probably use most of these companies again. I would not use PokeGrade just based on that case opening. I would not use Only Graded, although they do offer a great service, but I really personally don't like the label and the logo, but that's a personal thing. If you don't mind the label and the logo, by all means I would recommend using them because the customer service I had from them was brilliant. Tree Frog Graded and Good Brothers also have awesome customer service. I can't say the same about Get Graded service, but I do like their end product. Obviously, I would love to get some cards graded personally by PSA and Beckett, but that's just impossible at the minute. So guys, thanks for watching. I hope this video has been helpful to you in some way. I'll put links down below in the description to all the companies' websites so that you can go and have a look yourself. If you want any more information on any of the companies that I've used, by all means message us, email us, drop us a message on Instagram, and I will definitely get back to you if you have any queries or you want to know more. So there we have it guys. This was our grading review video. I hope this video has been helpful to you. It's been quite nice seeing all of these cards are laid out next to each other. You can get a really nice comparison as to what the labels look like, what the actual slabs themselves look like. If you want to see more videos like this guys, just let us know down in the comments, and if you've enjoyed this video, give us a like and maybe consider subscribing to the channel. It would really help us out a lot. Okay, have a good rest of the day. Goodbye.